Good evening. Welcome in. We are here with the State of the Tigers, our weekly show, talking Mizzou sports here on powermizzou.com, actually on YouTube right now, but you get the idea. You managed to find us. We appreciate that. While you're here, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Then make more people see what we do. We will have a little bit of basketball stuff with Drew King pretty soon. We'll have Jarod Hamilton come in, talk a little bit of football. I'm Gabe DeArmond. You get to talk to us all tonight. Before we go there, want to remind you that this show every week is brought to you by our friend James Carlton at State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves. I actually have been emailing back and forth with James about some various insurance things in the last week. I can tell you he is incredibly responsive. He wants to be your insurance agent. He's going to do everything he can, give you all the best options they've got. And hey, even if he can't sell you to make a move, if you talk to him, if he gives you a quote, if you tell him you heard about it on Power Mizzou, he's going to do some good things for Mizzou's NIL efforts, just as a result of you guys having that phone conversation. So you can get in touch with James. His information is going to be scrolling across the bottom of the screen throughout the show. You can go to carltoninsurance.net. You can get a hold of him at 314-961-4800. We encourage you to do that, just as Drew King did. As I mentioned, James does a lot of NIL stuff with the University of Missouri. Drew, I know that you work with James. Has he told you whether or not, how long he is spreading his $62 million donation out for, or?
I haven't heard from James about the 62 million.
Okay.
No, I have not, unfortunately.
Well, if you find out, there's a lot of people on our message board who want to know who that was. So if you find out it's James Carlton, tell him hop on the Tiger's Lair and tell everybody you're welcome for the donation.
I'm just so puzzled. Like how somebody has $62 million to just give away, and then
Right.
B, like to not want the credit for it. Like that, he's a lot more unselfish than I am. Like I want my name on a building for giving that much.
There are a lot of people who have a lot more money than you or I do, and apparently are also at the same time better people than you and I are. So
I guess so.
Good for them. So I think we can just sum up this portion of this show this way. Welcome to the show, Drew. Logan says, do we have to talk about basketball? That's where we are at. So last night, I've seen that game before. Looked very familiar.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. I mean, I assume you have as well.
I mean, yeah, like we've run into a couple of times where, like, surprise, somebody's injured and not going to be playing tonight. It just so happened that this time it came with Mizzou's leading scorer, right? Like Sean East, pretty important player for them. And then, yeah, like, I wrote my past two times in my preview, like, if you're going to design a team that's specifically custom built to expose Mizzou's weaknesses, it looks a lot like Texas A&M. So yeah, like it went like about how you expected it to go given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think I texted you and called the game at 16-10, Texas A&M. Ultimately, like, it remained a game a little bit longer than that, but
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was over at that point because I don't think Missouri ever tied the game again after that point.
Yeah, they did come close a couple of times. Well, and they actually did take the lead after 16-10 off of Mabor Majak's
That's right.
putback
That's
slam and one.
23-22. Yeah.
Yeah. They went to 23-22, lost the lead. I think got down by 14, and then made a little bit of a comeback in the second half, got it down to a one possession game. Yep.
Yeah.
But again, like Sisyphus cannot get the rock over the hill, and everything just comes crumbling back.
I don't remember exactly what the score was, but Anthony Robinson missed a layup, and I just said, "Okay, we're down here." Like that just tell like And look, they lack talent. There's a lot of things, but on top of a lot of things, and nothing's going their way this year.
Mhm.
They've had a like. I mean, Anthony Robinson's probably made that shot 20,000 times in his life, right? And
I
it
mean,
just rolled out.
yeah, a wide open layup, like, that's
Yeah,
it doesn't get easier than that, right? And he made a great move because Texas A&M's defender went for the steal. He brought the ball, like, over the top so that he couldn't get to it, and again, it's him in the rim and goes
yeah,
up for the layup, the ball rolls out, like,
yeah,
and I think that was I don't remember exactly when it happened like you, but that was like a pretty important moment early in the game. And as soon as it rimmed out, like there went the momentum, you know?
yeah,
So yeah, like it's just like they make these mistakes at the worst possible times.
right.
And it just completely deflates them every single time it happens.
Yeah, so we're not gonna focus a lot, guys, on the game last night. Whatever, they're 0-10. You know what it is. Like, they may win one, they may not. We'll see. But
Yeah.
either way, the season's not really going anywhere. So, want to kind of take a couple of the basketball questions we've got early because we're gonna hang out with Drew for a little bit and then bring Jarod on and talk some football stuff. So Connor's asking about Trent Pierce's 3-week illness. So before I go into any of it, I know Dennis Gates talked about it earlier this week. He said it was an ear infection and a virus. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's the exact words that he used, correct.
Okay.
Um,
So, yeah, I had talked to somebody in Nashville that said, look, I have not had an ear infection in a long time, but they suck.
mhm,
And supposedly these are causing Trent enough pain that like he hasn't even flown with the team to the last 2 road games.
right.
Because I don't know how many physics majors we have here, but if you've ever noticed when you go up in a plane, your inner ear kind of has some things happen there. So like I, again, would it be easier maybe if all the information was public and they just told us everything? Sure, but that's not really how things work around here.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting too because Trent looked like he was gonna play, right? He was dressed out, he was warming up with the team, um, you know, went through like the entire warm up routine, and I had to text Mizzou's SID to make sure he wasn't playing.
Mhm.
So I do think that he'll be back soon. But yeah, I think it's just been kind of one thing after another with him. Dennis Gates said he got sick as soon as they landed in College Station for the road game against Texas A&M. And so I'm assuming that
I got
the
sick about 2 hours into watching it.
no, but so if I were to venture a guess, I would say like he got the virus there and then developed an ear infection afterward, and so that's kind of why it's been a
Yeah.
prolonged absence for him.
Uh, Magic Man says, "Can the basketball team borrow some money from the football team for NIL for next year's transfer portal?" Look, I mean, that's the whole thing at this point, right? That's the whole thing is he's gotta go out and he's gotta buy some good players, and I just like to say things like that because it's so fun that we can say it out loud and, like, it's
Yeah,
legal now, like, I mean, it's been what college sports has been for a long time, but now it's actually a thing, but I mean, somebody asked me earlier today, how many transfers do you think he'd take? So I don't know if you saw my answers. How many transfers does this team need, do you think?
okay, so going off of kind of what we said, where you're pretty much just keeping Tamar Bates and the three
And the freshmen.
freshmen.
And I think they will bring John Tonje back at this point. I don't know why they wouldn't play him if they weren't bringing him back.
Right.
I don't know if
Okay.
that's what I would do, but nobody asked me.
Right.
I'm not the head coach. So
So just going off of roster math, that's 5 returners. Then you've got 5 in the 2024 class. So that's 3 scholarship spots that we know of that they could bring in.
mhm.
Um,
And
but
I can't see it like none of those the 5 freshmen, the 5 guys coming back, you're not gonna go to any of them and say you're not on scholarship. We'll just get you an NIL
yeah,
deal to cover it. I mean,
yeah,
those are gonna be scholarship players.
Correct. So yeah, like I don't know that they're gonna have 18 on the again next year, but I think 3 is a pretty reasonable number to expect, if not 2, right? Because I
It's
could
got to
see
be
a
more than
world.
2. There's no
I
way you can bring 5 guys back off a winless team and add 5 freshmen to them and only take 2 train. There's no that's
Well,
insanity.
no, that's what I'm saying. Is if you, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they keep Aiden Shaw around because we're not including him in that group of returners. Like I think that there is some potential there, right? Like he's obviously very gifted athletically, but he's really, really raw on the offensive end and not usually big enough to hold his own on the defensive end. So, like, there's a lot of work to be done there. If he sticks around, I wouldn't argue against it, but I also could see a world where he moves on. So, if that's the case, though, then you've only got two scholarship spots available for transfers.
I just look at this team and go, you need a lot more than 2 spots in John Tonje. Like, I don't unless you just work wonders in the offseason, right? Unless Aiden Shaw just takes this
Mhm.
leap, unless Ant Robinson becomes a starting point guard. I mean, I don't even think it's fair to say we have any idea what Tonje and Trent Pierce are at this point. Maybe they're incredible, but
Yeah.
maybe they're not.
Yeah, like that's the real big question for me, right? Because we know they're gonna go get new guys in the portal, right? The bigger question for me is like with this freshman group, how much of a step forward can they take in the offseason? Because right now they look like freshmen, right? Like we were talking about last night how bad the shooting percentages have been, and a lot of times they're open on these shots that they're missing. So that's kind of the bigger concern for me is like how reliable are these guys? And we know they're talented, right? They were obviously ranked really high nationally, and they've had their moments. It's just like consistently though, like what can you expect from them going into their sophomore years?
Right. I mean, I think at least one of them has to start. I mean,
Hmm.
or like I think Jordan Butler in an ideal world is your starting center next year.
Yeah,
Because he's been here on campus for a year, and look, if he's not your starting center, then who knows? We might be having this conversation about him a year from now. Robinson, you'd love him to be your starting point guard. I'm not sure that's realistic at this
yeah.
point. And yeah, again, Pierce, we don't know yet. So okay, so we're talking about numbers. I think he needs I would rather see 4 transfers than 2. I agree with you, 3
Hmm.
is the number, but I'd rather see 4 than 2 simply because I just you go 0 and 18, man. And oh, by the way, here's what we're not talking about. I mean, this is we're acting like this is just a one-way street. Who does he want to bring back? Obviously, everybody has to want to come back. First NIL priority for Dennis Gates as soon as the season ends is Tamar Bates. What does it take?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. Tamar blank.
absolutely he's going to have opportunities.
Tamar, here's a blank check. Fill it in.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that has to
How
be
much?
it, right?
Yeah. How much do you need? Because we need somebody who's experienced and has proven he can play on this level.
Yeah, they had to have that anchor player, right? That's what they had with Kobe Brown and Demoy Hodge, and I think Tamar Bates can be one of those guys for you. Um, it's just a matter of like how much does Tamar want to stick around in this situation, right?
Right.
And so you're absolutely right. Like that has to be their top priority. Um, if he leaves, that makes it a really
Oh
tough
yeah.
rebuild in the
That's a
off
nightmare.
season.
Yeah, and let's be clear, guys. We're not saying that's going to happen. Just look at college sports. I mean,
Hmm.
you have to at least acknowledge the possibility. So Connor says in the transfer, point guard and an elite rebounding forward or center. I agree. I think they need a starting point guard in the portal. Do we agree with that?
Yeah,
Like a 1 year
100%.
guy,
Yeah.
graduate transfer, whatever. And then just give me somebody who can score, right? Like they need another starter. I don't really even care what position it's at. Just they
Mhm.
need another starter off out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of tend to agree with Connor though. Like Dennis Gates historically has not put out very good rebounding teams, right? Historically, he has not cracked the top 300 in defensive rebounding rate, like in 5 years as a coach. So, like that has to change if you're gonna, compete in the SEC. It can't be all offense all the time. Like even last year's team struggled with that. When they had off nights offensively, they had no chance because of the number of offensive rebounds they were going to give up. So I think Connor is hitting it nail on the head. Like you have to get a big man who can be physical with these SEC bigs, who isn't going to be pushed around by Texas A&M, and can go and clean the glass for you. Like if they had Dennis Rodman on this team, he'd solve a lot of issues,
I mean, he would solve a lot of issues for a lot of teams, to be fair.
Yeah.
Also, if they had Charles Barkley, they would be good. And Michael
Right.
Jordan. Excellent shape in that case. So Logan asked kind of an interesting question. In retrospect, was taking 5 high schoolers a mistake? It's too early to say that, right? But you also can see where he's coming from, and then you look at it and go, yeah, they might need some immediate talent next year, and they've now got 8 spots tied up in freshmen and sophomores.
Right.
We think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand where the question's coming from. I think for a team like Mizzou, right? Like it's not every day you get to sign that many high-end guys in program history,
Right.
right?
They're all
Like
top 100 players, correct?
right, correct.
Or yeah.
The top 150 at least, right?
Yeah, 150. Okay.
But so like yes, I think that the goal was, we'll have these new guys come in and we'll only need a piece or 2 or 3 in the transfer portal. Well, now you really need 3 or 4 pieces
Like
in
you
the
almost
transfer
can't
portal.
miss in the portal, right? Like if
Right. Exactly.
you can just go take 3 guys, but they all have to hit. You can't go 1 or 2
Mhm.
for 3.
Absolutely, right? And like you can't, take a flyer on Jesus Carolero. Like it has to be some higher end guys like from other high major schools who have proven they can play at this level. Um so yeah, like I don't know that it's a mistake, right? Because I would bet that a lot of those freshmen are going to help the program down the line. But at the same time, like looking at next year specifically, it would probably help to have
So,
one of those spots open. Sure.
so I think the goal next year is okay, Tamar Bates is a senior next year. You go find 2 or 3 transfers who are upperclassmen, whether those be juniors, seniors, whatever. They're old guys. And then the goal is over those next couple years, these freshmen and sophomores are your upperclassmen, right? And then you're filling in. So, I mean, you can see the plan. You can see the hope for the plan. Now, obviously, they have to go pan out, and this is kind of where and we're going to talk a lot about next year because again, this year's just whatever. Next year's more interesting. Dustin says highly rated freshmen will still be freshmen, but Kentucky has made it work forever. Gates hasn't exactly indoctrinated these 3 current freshmen. So
That's a big word. I don't know
I'll
what
let you go
indoctrinate
here.
means.
I want to, right, exactly. I think he means gotten their feet wet. But I think, like, guys, these aren't Kentucky freshmen. These aren't top 10 in the country. And guess what? The guys coming in next year aren't either. I mean, Honor Boateng is like borderline that, but he's number 21. And when you're number 21, that's you can come in and instant impact and be a star right away, but it's no guarantee. Guaranteed is like the top maybe 6 kids in the country. They're coming in and they're going to start and they're going to make a big impact. So here's what, and then I'll let you kind of, talk a little more about what you think these kids might do next year. But here's the thing. Missouri fans got so used to recruiting like a mid-major program over the last 7 years that when Dennis recruited like a high major coach should in year 1, they put unrealistic expectations on a class of Trent Pierce, Anthony Robinson, and Jordan Butler. These were not top 75 kids. They were well-regarded freshmen. They were 4-stars. They were what an SEC recruiting class should look like. It's just that you guys had gone so many years without seeing that. You thought suddenly we were going to see a version of Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, and Jimmy King come in here. Sorry, Jalen Rose, I left you out. But, that was never going to. Now, I understand being disappointed with these current freshmen and the output and all that. But, again, we just got so used to seeing guys that, like, their next best offer was Texas San Antonio, that we just said, oh, my God, this guy has 4 stars. He's going to be incredible the day he sets foot on campus. And that's not last year's class. And I'm not sure it's next year's class either.
Right. So, and you got to remember, like, what the expectations for them coming into this season were, right? Like, we didn't expect Anthony Robinson to be playing this much. We thought he was going to be buried behind Nick Honor and Sean East at the point guard spot. We didn't really expect Jordan Butler to play all that much, right? Because they had a couple of bigs that were ahead of him. We expected Trent
and the
Pierce
one
to
we
play
did
a little bit
expect
more.
isn't on the court ever.
So, like you said, and you mentioned Kentucky, being able to make it work with freshmen. It was one of the reasons that I didn't think it was going to work at Kentucky this year, right? Like I voted them 9th in the conference poll because, like, I didn't trust Cal to make it work with a bunch of guys who haven't played SEC basketball before. And obviously I've been proven wrong, right? But it's also interesting because the guys who are the freshmen specifically who are making it work at Kentucky weren't like the top 10 guys either, right? Like Justin Edwards has
Reed
been
Shepherd.
Yeah, Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham. And those were 2 of the lower rated guys in that class. DJ Wagner and Justin Edwards and Aaron Bradshaw, those guys have been kind of disappointing, right? The last mock draft I looked at, none of them are going in the first round. And they were projected to be one and dones. So you just never really know what to expect with the freshman group, right? So I think because of the way this season's gone, they've had to play the freshmen a little bit more. Mizzou, I'm talking about now. And like it hasn't been great, but that's kind of why you don't want to throw them out there for 30 minutes and get their confidence messed up, because like you really kind of want to just get their feet wet until they're physically ready for this level of play.
Yeah. One more I want to hit here, and then we'll go to dip into the green room. T-Ry says, is Trent Pierce still a one and done? I want to be clear. Nobody's ever said that. That has never been said. What was said was Trent Pierce will not be at the University of Missouri for 4 years, meaning they believe he will go to the NBA before he exhausts his eligibility. Not one person has ever called Trent Pierce a one and done, to my knowledge, other than on a message board. So like I get it. He has not lived up to maybe even the expectations that were set at this point. But nobody said Trent Pierce was going pro after this year. So, all right. So this is kind of the crossover part of the show. I'm going to bring Jarod on the screen. So, Drew, you can tell him happy birthday or sing happy birthday to him if you want.
Happy birthday.
Oh, wow. I didn't really expect it to happen. So Jarod is going to celebrate on Sunday with a Super Bowl to watch. It's a big day for me, Jarod. You cost me less to get you a rental car next football season now. This is incredible. This is a big day for all of us, man.
I got you. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. So the crossover section, look, we're not going to spend the whole night talking Super Bowl, right? But there's not a lot going on, guys. We're like, we can't get on here and talk for 45, 60 minutes about nothing right now. So, all right, Super Bowl. I just sent Jarod a tweet that Rashee Rice did not practice with multiple ankle injuries today. That makes me very sad. I hope there's nothing to that, man. I hope that's just the Chiefs going, let's just F with them a little bit on Thursday's practice.
I think so. I mean, I have seen him the last couple games limping a little bit. He catches the ball though. He's been catching the ball, but he's been taking some shots. And it's been really, really cold. So, I mean, I get it, but I think he'll be all right.
All right, so we got 2 questions. We'll just go around the horn. First of all,
Mhm.
what's the score? I don't care who starts. Either one of you guys that what's the start?
I'll go 30-23. I think Chiefs win it by a touchdown.
Okay.
That's nice. I'll probably change it again. I'll say 24-21 Chiefs.
Okay. I picked the Chiefs in multiple text chains 29-17.
Oh,
Harrison
okay.
Butker 3 field
Oh,
goal.
yeah.
I can't. I just look. I picked the Chiefs to lose 2 weeks ago, so this is not Homer stuff. I think I just don't see Brock Purdy beating Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So here's the bigger question: if the Chiefs win, Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP. But let's pretend that he is not the MVP. Who's the MVP?
Taylor Swift.
Drew just sabotaging the
show. Cringe. It's hard to imagine it wouldn't be Kelsey, but like last year, it could have been Nick Bolton. So if somebody gets any defensive touchdowns, but I'll probably just have to go with Kelsey. It's really hard to imagine someone else.
I'll be a contrarian and pick somebody on the defense. I think it would be Chris Jones, right? If he's able to get to Brock Purdy and create pressure, I think that'll be a Super Bowl MVP worthy performance.
The one bet I have placed in the last 20 years of my life, I had somebody put $20 on Chris Jones as Super Bowl MVP last year because it was pretty good odds. Didn't work out. They gave up 35 points, so I can't fall down that rabbit hole again. I did. One of my friends told me that Harrison Butker is plus 43,000 as MVP. Chiefs like to kick a lot of field goals. That's not bad value there. But if it's not Mahomes, it's probably Pacheco. Is my opinion. If it's not Mahomes, it's because the Chiefs just said the 49ers can't stop the run. We're just going to run the hell out of the ball and beat them on defense. And Pacheco wins the MVP.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or Clyde. I know Jarod's a big Clyde fan. Could be Clyde.
He's been doing better, but big fan. Oh man, that's a
see Logan agrees with me. Pacheco sleeper MVP. So all right, Drew. So we're gonna kind of transition, man. I after making you watch 2 hours of that last night, I felt bad making you talk about it for another 20 minutes tonight. Even though you get paid, it's kind of your job. But sometimes it's easier.
I love basketball, even when it's not good basketball. You know, like it's still basketball.
I don't know, man. I watched the first Mizzou A&M game in person. I couldn't do it to myself again. So. All right, man. We'll talk to you next time. All right. That is Drew King. Now, Jarod, I don't know if you saw at the beginning, one of the very first comments was, do we have to talk basketball? So they've just been waiting for you, man. They've been waiting for you to get here. It's like oddly quiet. I feel like I don't really think there's been anything of note for at least a week.
Yeah, it's I just every time I think about what's going on now, I go back to last year and what are some of the things I was doing around this point last year, and it was, kind of what you guys are seeing with the newcomer profiles, and real soon there'll be spring football, position previews, but there was so much more. You could talk so much about what could we see out of the offense, who's going to.
Because there were so many questions.
Yeah, and then even you were still thinking about, okay, portal, who could they grab in the portal for the spring? The spring. It was losing coaches, gaining coaches. So there was like so many things. Now it's just like they're pretty set. I was on the radio. Chuck Oliver in Atlanta a couple of days ago. He's like, "Can we expect anything for next couple of weeks?" And I'm like, "No." They've already
not that we know of.
Hired the coaches they needed to hire. In Batoon and Early. And then, the only person we were thinking, in December or, November area who may be a signee was Burnett, and he, what was it, Houston?
Houston.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not too much going on right now.
Yeah, and like that's good. I would say, people in times like this get kind of bored, and they're like, "Man, I want something to happen." You don't want anything to happen this time of year. If your team's not in the news this time of year, that's just perfectly fine. It means nobody's leaving, nobody's getting arrested. it is perfectly fine just to be quiet. So I saw a thread on the board a couple days ago about an over, and I don't think like the official Vegas numbers are out yet, but over under win total. I know where I expect it to be set for Missouri. What do you think it will be or should be?
I'm around like 9.5, 10.
That high? Okay, I think it's going to be 8.5.
Oh man, see, I have a rule. I don't bet on SEC teams. If it's at 8.5, I would take it. Over, I'm taking over on that. Quite easily, actually.
I think I would too. 9.5 might be a little. I think at 8.5, most people would go over. I think at 9.5, most people on this chat and most people on our message board would go over, but I'm not sure most people nationally would go over.
But here's the thing about nationally. See, when a lot of people pick the other way, it just makes the odds better for the one I want. So that's fine. I actually hope that would be the case if I was a Missouri fan wanting to bet on the odds.
I think it will be set at 8.5 because I think they'll go, all right, they're going to lose to Alabama. They're going to lose to Oklahoma. And I'm not saying that's fair, but that's like national perception. Right. And then I think they'll see names like A&M on there and just say, 8.5 makes more sense than 9.5. But I could be wrong. Nobody's ever asked me to be to work in Vegas. So, all right, Anthony Mathis says he donated the money, but it was a typo and he wants his $2 million back. So we talked about this. Where, if you had $62 million, what would you do?
Oh man, I don't know. Whoever the anonymous person, they're a lot better than me. I would donate some of it, but 62? Nah. First off, retired.
Well, I'm gonna assume if he donated 62, he still has some. Like, I don't think he probably just emptied the bank account.
Well, you asked me if I had 62. So not if I had 62 to spare. If I just had 62, I would donate. I always think about this. If I won the lottery, I know what I would donate to. But I would instantly be thinking, I don't know. This person right here, they've gotta have, how much do you think their net worth is to be able to donate 62 and then not even get no credit for it? Right,
a lot more. For sure. I mean, I don't know. I can't think, because I promise that is not this person's first donation.
Probably. Oh,
so look, this is real easy for me. If I had $62 million, you know what I would do? You would never talk to me again. If I woke up tomorrow and I had $62 million, I would buy a cabin in the mountains and I would throw my cell phone away. And if you were lucky, I would text you before I threw it away and say, hey, man, I'm out. The site is yours. Have fun.
Yours.
But otherwise, you would just wake up and I just wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
It would be like the Goodwill Hunting thing, right? Every day I pull up and for those 10 seconds I'm walking to your door. I hope there's a chance you're not going to be there. That would be you. You would wake up one day. I just wouldn't be there.
Damn, Gabe. Don't do me like that. At least send me the message. I won a lottery.
You know what? You live right down the road. Here's how you'll find out. If I wake up with $62 million one day, I'm going to do all those things. I'll drop $1 million in a McDonald's bag on your front porch and you'll know I'm out.
Oh, see, you're a real one, Gabe. I was thinking, okay. I'm glad Gabe would share the wealth. I was thinking, man, if I won 62, I give you, Sean, and Drew, I each break you off some, do my donations, and then again, I'd vanish basically. So I get it.
Yeah. Connor is asking, how would you seriously actually split up the 62 million? I mean, I'll give you my answer first. First of all, you're talking to the wrong people, because if I had 62 million, that's probably not what I would donate it to, if I'm being honest. But if I did, I would say, here's the $62 million. I would say, here's your instructions. Go to Eli Drinkwitz and tell him to find every single thing he can possibly spend $1 on. And when he's done, if there's money left over, then go to Dennis Gates and say the same thing. And then when he's done, if there's any left over, do whatever you want with it.
That's a good plan, and that's much nicer in a way. I would, because I was gonna just, I don't know, maybe divvy it up, by which sports,
different sports.
But I don't think wouldn't be a fan favorite idea.
I am not an equal opportunity employer. I want all the football and then the men's basketball, and the rest. Hey, come along for the ride, man. We'll win a lot of things and make a lot of money, and you guys can come along for the
Yeah,
ride.
yeah. So 62 million. That person, I don't know. I don't know. They're living good.
All right. So the other thing we're going to talk about tonight that we talked about, you guys probably all saw this. Gary Pinkel, part of the new college football playoff committee. So despite the message board's belief that this locks up Missouri's spot, I think GP probably will do his job honorably in the correct way and actually assess the teams and put the teams in that deserve to be in. But cool honor for him. I know Mac Rhodes is on there. I didn't look at a lot of the other names. Hunter Yurachek from Arkansas. So if you get to be one of the guys in that room, Jarod, like what's the biggest thing you're like, all right, this is stupid. We're doing this different.
I've got a question about that because I have an idea from reading a couple of things. I feel like I merged it, but I don't know if the CFP committee, I don't know how this works. So take out the conference championships, and I read an article by Matt Zemek.
Matt Zenitz.
It's Zemek.
Oh, okay. I don't know him, but
writing for Yahoo Sports, and so one of his ideas was take the conference championship time slots, so SEC championships or whatever, and kind of make it a play-in type situation. So like Alabama and Georgia, they would already be in because they're high enough. But then you make, the LSU's, Ole Miss's, Missouri's of the world kind of play in that time spot.
Oh, it's like they do with the play-in games in the NCAA tournament, like 2 11 seeds play.
Yeah, so you'll decide seeding or whatever. So I thought that was cool.
I like that.
And then also, I mean, you could have it's not going to happen, but conference championships, I don't think they have to go away. Like, I like them, but there needs to be some type of better incentive. Like, it's out of place right now, and it doesn't do anything really, but kind of ruin some things.
It does give you a bye, though.
But for like a team like Georgia, you go perfect and then you lose that game, and now you're out of it completely.
Right. But that wouldn't be that way next year, like you said. I mean, if Alabama and Georgia would both be in. So there's 2 things I would change. One of them probably won't happen. First of all, the group of 5 champion would have to be in the top 12 to get in for me. Like, you don't just automatically get a spot. Tulane this year would not have been, or SMU or Liberty.
Yeah.
Liberty ain't playing in my playoff. That's not a thing. You're not invited. You go play the NIT. Good luck. See how you do. And then the second change I would make is the second round games would be on campus.
Okay.
So because like there's actually an incentive right now. There's an argument it's better to be the number 5 team than the number 4 team, right? Because if you're number 5, you need to host a game. Your campus gets all wound up. It's good for your town, all that. You're probably going to win it because it's against number 12. Well, then if you're number 4, like you get that team, but it's at a neutral site. You've had a week off. I would like the top 4 seeds to host the quarterfinals on campus.
You would like the top 4 teams to host. Okay, so you want everybody to play?
So they're going to get they get the bye in the first round. So you got 5 versus 12 like usual. But when those last 4 teams are left, then number 1 hosts the lowest team left, number 2 hosts the second lowest team, all that, rather than putting those games like at a neutral site.
Another good one I've seen, or another interesting one, is just like make those first rounds of games or whatever, make those bowl games as well. I mean, that would help them, the sponsorships and all that stuff. It'd still give it its own kind of weird, I don't know, it would make me feel like a little bit of the BCS era where the Cotton Bowl, I mean, even if it wasn't the national championship or whatever, you still thought like big game. Now everything's kind of, to me, a little bit diluted, where if it's not one of those ones for the title, you're just kind of like,
So now we can get like number 7 versus 11 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
I would like, we're gonna have to. I wasn't thinking exactly Mayo Bowl, but
no, I know.
Add a little prestige to those bowl games so they don't just feel like random things you're throwing on something.
Yeah, we'll if you guys got some football related questions, throw them up there. We'll take a few of those. OU or Texas, bigger threat in the immediate future?
Texas.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Texas was in the playoff this year. They're better right now, right?
And they also have the Taylor Swift of college football, I guess. Arch Manning is just
I
everybody.
was like, who's that?
Yeah, but I mean, the way they talk about Arch Manning, you seen the picture, from the championship when they was doing like the press conferences, and no one was talking to Quinn Ewers, but everybody was, talking to Arch, who isn't playing. I think it's Texas.
Now the smart ass answer here is OU's the bigger threat because they're on Missouri's schedule next year and Texas isn't. But big picture, it is Texas. I think that's fair. Hey, look, guys, I've gotten a few questions, Sam Horn related. It's on our message board. If you're bringing it here, you read it there. We're talking about it there. That's it. I'm not gonna, do any more with it here. It's on our board. When we get more on it, we'll tell you. So I didn't want you to think I'm ignoring the question, but we're not really going to do it here. So Jarod, I don't know if you saw this comment. This is the best comment that's happened on our YouTube show, and this might happen now. Champ Caldwell wants me to randomly leave a McDonald's bag with a McGriddle on your doorstep one day. So you just for that half second, you might walk out there and be like, Gabe just left me $1 million, man. He's out. And then you open it up, it's just like a sausage McGriddle.
Yeah, I think first off, I'd probably take a bite of it, and then I'd say, well, I've got real money. I'm gonna go have a real breakfast.
I mean, look, I'm not here for slander of sausage McGriddles. That's a good meal.
No, I'm a McGriddle. McMuffin is I think that's it with the English muffin. Yeah, I think that's my jam.
With like the fake egg.
Yeah, y'all be hating on it. Y'all don't hate on it. Don't hate on it. It's decent, but I would probably be thinking I'm about to go buy a breakfast that my mom would say we got that at home. That's what I'd be on.
See the McGriddle, the syrup pockets, man. That's a nice invention. Somebody was smart when they came up with that. Also, there was over the summer there was one of the half of one of those eggs from an Egg McMuffin on our sidewalk. Not our sidewalk, not in front of our house, but on the street. I don't know what had happened. Somebody might have been eating their McMuffin drunk and dropped the egg and didn't notice. But it was there, and my dog found it. Man, my dog sniffed that exact spot for 4 months after. He was just hoping that egg came back from the Egg McMuffin. So I'm kind of out on the Egg McMuffin.
Oh. Wow. Gotcha.
So, but my dog would take it. So, So where's the real breakfast then? If McDonald's isn't good enough, what's the real breakfast? Is it Waffle House? Come on, Waffle. Now you can't also slander Waffle House.
No. I'm decent. I love a Waffle House, but I don't know, something like. See, I don't got no money. I'm not used to this, so I wouldn't know the spots. The first thing that come to mind is the First Watch place, and I'm sure rich folk is that's nothing for me. That's a commitment. That's the thing I got to think out. I'm going to First Watch, next week. That's not something I'm just thinking. I'm gonna just pop in here real quick. That's not it.
Yeah. Well, if whenever you get rich, go to Ernie's in Columbia. It's the best breakfast in Columbia.
Ernie's, okay.
You like
it?
Yeah. All right. So a couple quick ones. Any Mizzou guys impressed at the Senior Bowl? I mean, I think Darius Robinson might have had the best week of anybody at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been quiet, but my whole, Twitter, X feed, whatever we calling it now, it was just Darius Robinson things. Seeing some things about, people talk about Ennis being a first rounder, even going higher than D-Rob. I got a couple things about Cody Schrader, and then the last thing I remember is you saying, JC Carlisle was up to 230, 240 or something like that. But D-Rob was trying to do what he said when he came on the pod, maybe a month or so ago. That he's trying to play his way into getting one of those invitations to the green room in his hometown or his home state.
And it kind of looks like, I mean, most of the mock drafts I've seen in the last week have him somewhere between like that 26 and 32 range, late first
Yep.
round.
Yep.
And that's actually the place to be, because then you get to be on a good team. There's
Oh, there
no
you go.
coming in and trying to save the Panthers. You actually go maybe get to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Mock draft I seen recently. The last mock draft I seen was early in the week. I was doing 4-down territory. And I think he was 30 or 31. I feel like he was with the Chiefs. The mock draft I was using, I think it was PFF.
I
had him
know
31 for the Chiefs.
Eric Edholm had him going to the Chiefs too. Yeah.
Okay. And then I've seen Ennis as high as like 17. The last one I seen was whatever the Lions is picking. So it's 22, 26, something like
Somewhere in
26,
there.
probably lower because they was in the conference championship, but something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, six guys drafted, something like that, 2 in the first round would obviously be huge for Missouri. I don't know, spring football starting pretty soon, but I don't know. I think you and me are in the same spot, Jarod. Let's go 72 hours of nothing big, no real news. Get one last football game out of the way, then we can get to the other stuff, right?
Yeah. Just let's keep it quiet just for this weekend. Let me have this weekend. Chiefs need to win. I've told you this for a minute. If they get to the Super Bowl, I need them to win. So it's not a miserable day.
So you're turning 25 on Sunday, is that right?
Correct.
26. Okay.
25.
So the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl for 16% of your life, and they have been in the conference championship game for a quarter of your life. Man, spoiled young kid, man.
I get why you would say that, but I also think when I started watching, like first memories, it's probably like 2005, maybe. So a little pre-Tones, but really the Larry Johnson era.
Trent Green, yeah,
like the last season of Trent Green or two, maybe, when they just had good running backs and nothing else. Or actually, some of those teams actually had like tons of Pro Bowlers, but they'd go 2-14 still.
Right.
So I remember some bad times. So I don't feel you're not talking to an elementary kid school who's like Pat Mahomes. No, I've seen something before this, Gabe.
All right. Good deal. Well, hey guys, appreciate all of you hanging out with us. If you can, before you go, like, comment, subscribe, share it on social media, do all those things. We try to get you one every week, trying to take a little bit of your focus off maybe some basketball that has got you down lately. So try to lift your spirits a little bit, but appreciate you hanging out with us. James Carlton's information has been running across the bottom of the screen all night. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit him up at carltoninsurance.net. You can give him a call at 314-961-4800. So if you're listening on the podcast, again, 314-961-4800. Again, I was emailing with James earlier this week about some stuff. Super responsive, super helpful. He wants to help you guys out, especially since you're a Mizzou fan. So make sure to mention Power Mizzou when you get in touch with James. We will come back. I know next week I'm trying to work on a little draft thing for you guys, a little draft show for you. And I don't know, we'll do some other stuff. We try not to plan too far ahead in the off season. So maybe we'll get Nick Bolton on the show, right? I can promise that. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I can say it, right?
Yeah. I mean, first off,
right.
Gabe is the go. You can pull anybody in here, right?
Yeah, right. Tune back in next week. 2-time Super Bowl champion Nick Bolton joins me and Jarod. We'll talk to you then.